Because there were two left.
Yeah, I saw 3:50 and 4 o'clock. I don't think I'd be able to get practice early, so.
Okay. Well, it doesn't even take the full 10 minutes if you don't know how to do it. We just thought, hey, we allow 10 minutes just so everybody's comfortable.
My electronic music teacher does not really care about like a few minutes late.
Okay. That's all right. That's good.
Are you doing a talk on like 1 day's notice?
Yes.
You are amazing. You are amazing.
I may gabble a little bit because I've got to admit I am flying a little bit by the seat of my pants.
Yeah.
It's from a longer presentation and I'm just cutting it down.
Yeah.
But it's all good. And I love doing this stuff anyway. So.
Awesome.
Thank you. I just figured, you know what, I got to step up. So we'll have Jennifer next year. She's on.
Awesome.
Hey, they are. Catherine, what's your favorite plant to grow?
Huh?
What's your favorite plant to grow?
Plant?
Yeah.
I am halfway decent at taking care of aloe plants.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm the queen of mandavillas.
Oh, okay. My mom has the like really tall one.
And they grow up and they spiral. I've got hanging pot ones, and then I've got the ones that grow up. Oh, you guys are champions. Thank you for showing up. Yay. Check, check. Andy's going to do it now. Do you want to come further up, or are you good there?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Leshowitz Recital Hall. At this time, we ask that you please silence your electronic devices and locate the nearest exit in the event of an emergency. Please note that food, drink, and flash photography are not permitted in the hall. Thank you and enjoy the performance.
Okay, look at that. How's everybody doing? I'm so excited. I was convinced that only 3 people were going to show up. So this is awesome. A really warm welcome, and I am sending deep regrets from my wonderful colleague and friend Jennifer Johnson, who is stranded in Canada. Her passport was stolen, and she cannot travel internationally at the moment. So, yeah, so we're going to get it back next year. But in the meantime, I'm going to jump on in. I've known Jennifer. We've worked together for over 25 plus years now, and the work that I'm going to talk to you about today, body mapping, comes out of the somatic tradition. Have any of you heard of the Alexander technique? Have you heard of Feldenkrais? Okay, so they're disciplines that are also like body mapping. The difference is that body mapping was developed by musicians for musicians, and we have a number of people within our network who also work in Feldenkrais and Alexander technique as well. But it's a neuroanatomical educational technique that's designed to help you find freedom in the movement. For me, other than making the decision to become a choral conductor, body mapping has been the most profound influence on my life as both an educator and as a performer. And given that I've only got 50 minutes, I won't go into the long, gory story about why all of that is. But I can honestly say to you that I cannot imagine a day on the podium or working in any kind of musical performance situation with a student where I'm not actively engaged with this information in order to achieve the outcome, which I've put up here for you all to enjoy, embodied and expressive. How many of you have had a performance experience where you just felt there was so much flow and synergy, everything felt great, and you walked off the stage at the end of it just feeling almost sort of like there was a superpower involved? How many of you have had that kind of experience? Yeah. And how many of you have had an experience where, whether it was practice or a performance, the day before was great, and then you walk in the next day and nothing's going your way, and you're like, what the hell, right? How many of you have actually, I'm just curious, this is just from my own research, how many of you have actually learned how to practice? That's the other thing. How many of you were actually taught how to practice or shown how to practice? Okay, much smaller number, got it. Okay, and how many of you can remember a time in your lessons or in your rehearsals where there was a specific reference made to movement as movement rather than being couched in terms like, for example, breathe through your feet, which is really vague, and you get that kind of stuff in the vocal world, right? But that you were actually taught a specific technical thing through the lens of movement rather than through an image or an analogy. Raise your hand if you've had that experience. Wonderful. Good. So today, I want to introduce you to body mapping, and we're going to look at core balance. Basically, you could ask yourself, how do I sit and how do I stand? And by the end of this session, I want you all to have reformed, and you will no longer use the word posture as a way of getting people to sit and stand well. And you're like, okay, ladies, so what are we going to use instead? Well, you got to hang around, and I'll give you the alternatives. If today's session interests you and you'd like to get some follow-up, please either email me or come and see me at the end. I would love to talk to you, and I will have a QR code on my notice board outside my office by tomorrow where you can also get information about other people that do this work in the network and other opportunities that you have. If you are going to teach in a studio situation, if you are going to teach in a classroom situation, if you see yourself being a conductor of any kind, then there is something for you in this information. And like the flight attendants always say, take care of yourself first before you take care of others. So today is very much going to be through the lens of we're going to take care of you. So let's try. I promised that I'd make this practical, and you need to laugh a lot because laughter is a good part of this. There are going to be a few things I'm going to potentially suggest that some of you are going to be like, really? Like, I'm a little uncomfortable with that. Good. It means you're listening. So let's get started, shall we? So these are the traditional instructions for good posture. Let's try them, shall we? So in the seat where you are, and if you wish to stand, you're welcome to do that as well. So in the seat where you are, I would like you to be that overachieving A student who does any or all of these things to show me good posture, right? So I want you to sit up straight or sit up tall. And then everybody's had someone in the choir room that told them, imagine your head is pulled up by a string. So shall we do that? So find that position, and I want you to hold it. Good. Because that's the whole point of posture, isn't it? You want to find the position that you can be in. Let's keep our backs straight. Okay, so, or think about straight spine. We want shoulders back. Marching band folks are all sitting there getting flashbacks at that one. Chest up or chest high. Right? If you're standing, bottom tucked under, and then can everybody firm up their abs? Beautiful. Okay. Now, where you are, while I talk over the next minute, I want you to preserve this position. Okay? No relaxing. You just found the postural position that you thought was good. And I'm going to talk to you just for a moment. Okay? So, close your eyes. Keep the posture. Okay, and I want you to listen to something. Oh, that's just my natural, normal voice. Keep your eyes closed. Oh, oh. Keep that posture. Okay, open your eyes. Keep the posture. How many of you heard some variance in my voice when I was singing then? Yeah, and all I did was actually play around with different aspects of this in my posture, okay? Right, now I want you to try something. So everybody stand up for a moment. Since everybody in here has been in an ensemble at some point, we're going to pretend that you're all conductors for a moment. So spread out, right? Right, stand up straight. Head pulled up by a string, arms back. Okay, bottom tucked, abdominals firm. Are you ready? Let's conduct a beautiful 4 pattern. And 1, 2, make it as legato as you can. Okay, and make sure you're standing as tall as you can. Beautiful. Now, remember how that feels. Let's relax for a moment. Okay, shake that out for me. Okay, good. See if you can just find a place where you feel the ground. Get in touch with the soles of your feet. See if you can just shift your weight a little bit gradually. Beautiful. And then if you think you're in a position that you like, could you nod your head and just say yes? Just nod your head like the little bobble-headed doll. Bring your arms up and let's conduct again. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. You're remembering floor, door, wall, ceiling. Not difficult, right? But more than that, I want you to pay attention. I want you to pay attention to how it feels now, right? Imagine I'm going to ask you to step to the side slightly. Let's try some variety. Let's make a bigger gesture. Let's make that gesture smaller. Let's see if we wanted to come this way. Could you move there easily? Okay, good. Now let's go back to stand up straight. Stand up straight again, and I want you to follow me. Just imagine you're trying to mirror me. Okay? Ready? And so as legato as you can. Nod your head if you feel different already. right? Nod your head if you don't like the way you feel already. Good, we're gonna move. You ready? So now I want you to float to the side. Oh, that was interesting. And I want you to bring it down. Ooh, that was interesting too. Let's shake that out for a moment. Who noticed that it was easier to move when you weren't postury? Who noticed that getting postury brought about a certain rigidity? Okay? So have a seat. And this comes from a handout that I developed. And I know we've got a mother here today, so she's going to love this. In order to get people's attention, sometimes you've got to use some shock value. So if you're wondering, okay, but why are these things bad? Why are people saying these things if they're so bad? Well, it's because they don't know any better, right? How many of you have been in a situation where people are like, sit up straight, and then 5 minutes later, sit up straight, stop fidgeting? How many of you have been in that situation? See, if that was a good instruction, you wouldn't have to keep telling people that instruction, right? And what's the antidote to sit up straight? What do you want to do when you want to come out of this? You immediately want to go to slump. Let's try slump. Let's see how that feels. You ready? So stand up again. And if you're an instrumentalist, you can take some of this home and try it in the instrumental room as well. Okay, so let's go slump. You ready? Let's look like really moody conductors. Here we go. Now, legato 4 pattern. And I want you to start piano. Start piano. Float, float. Now, let's get bigger. Bigger. Let's sweep. Let's find. Yep, how about a little bit more height? Come around and bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. Okay, how did that feel? Aijen's shaking her head at me. She's not happy about that. Imagine if I said, pick up your instrument and play from that position. You're like, wait a minute, I'm a pianist. I'm already there. I'm kidding. Okay, right. In actual fact, you can tell what instruments some people play by looking at their posture. It's really interesting because that repetitive habitual movement, after a while people sort of start to conform to a certain shape and you actually don't want that. But I digress. So these instructions here, I've got a handout, it's called Your Mother Was Wrong. If anybody's interested to get a copy of that, I'll be happy to share it with you. But have a seat and let's talk about what you notice. Now that's interesting, the way you went to sit then. Ooh, maybe we'll work on that too. Okay, so what happens? What happens when you actually stand up straight? Well, the first thing you're doing is you're decreasing support for your body, right? Gravity is pulling on you, and you want to allow the weight of your body to be delivered into the weight-bearing part of your structure. And we're going to have a look at what that is in just a moment. How many of you felt a certain amount of rigidity or tension as you were trying to work with that? Yeah. Now, for those of you taking notes, there are 3 enemies to fluid, poised movement, okay? The first one is misalignment. Second one is tension. And the third one is excessive force. And any one of those 3 conditions by itself will be an impediment to your results. Combinations of those will just get you there faster. And in the least case scenario, you're just going to have technical frustrations. In the worst case scenario, you're going to have injury. And if you are trying to make a living as a performer, you'll be in a potential situation where you won't be able to make a living out of playing if the injury is too great. Okay? So that's another reason why we really want to pay attention to our movement. How many of you noticed that when you were in the good posture that your arms felt heavier or you felt a little tired with the repetitive movement? Did anybody have that sensation? Yeah. We didn't do this one, but I can tell you for sure that it will restrict your breathing capacity because the tension and the rigidity is inhibiting the gathering and lengthening of your spine, and it's also limiting the excursion of your ribs. Okay? That will also then tighten the jaw because the tension travels upstream. Tension in the neck creates tension in the jaw. Some of us will find that our legs won't move so freely. So here's the thing, when the arms are in motion, there needs to be synergistic supportive movement from the legs, but not if you're in a position that's rigid. If you're using your fingers and hands to work, which pretty much everyone except the singers are, just in order to play the basic sound, you're going to have limitations in your finger and arm movement. It actually takes you off balance. This is out of balance. You recognize this is out of balance, but so too is this. And it will create a distance and a stillness. There will be a sort of a lack of micro movement and stage presence in that. This means that you're then inhibited from improving your musical capacity, okay? And that just engenders a whole bunch of frustration. So these are well-intentioned instructions, right? Don't go getting mad at the people that use them at you. Instead, say, well, that's all they knew to do. But today you're going to learn better. And so what I want you to do is to start respecting the power of your language and start reframing your instructions so that you're going to get better results for yourself and for the musicians that you work with. Some of you who were here back in December of 2019 will know exactly what's going on here. This is the chorale and the university singers on stage in our Crawford concert for Considering Matthew Shepard. And that was just a really amazing moment. And you can see in the faces and the bodies and the expressions of these people just how connected and embodied they all are. The thing about body mapping that I just love is that it teaches us how to quickly access and utilize this mind-body connection that allows us to organize around our musical intention. How many of you have ever had something that you've wanted to do musically or technically, but you feel like you hit a brick wall or there's just something that gets in the way of your capacity to do that? We find that typically it's a limitation in movement quality that's causing that. Not a lack of imagination musically, but it's actually a movement issue. Because musicians do what for a living? If we were to fill in the blank, what would you say? Musicians blank for a living. What do? We communicate, we breathe, we express, we play, we sing, but what do you need to do for all of those things to be true? Correct. You need to move. Musicians move for a living. So we need to see ourselves as movers with the same kind of integrity and intensity that athletes do. Because the reality is we are small muscle athletes, and we do what we do for much longer in a lifetime than they actually do. And the research shows that from high school and up, anywhere from 76 to 85% of musicians will have to deal with a performance-related injury during the course of their career. That's something that happens as a result of the way they're moving. That's a higher injury statistic than any professional sporting code, right? So the good news is we can do something about that. So let's get busy. So I already did this at the top where I asked you to close your eyes while you were in that uncomfortable posture, and I said, listen to my voice. And you heard changes in timbre. You may have heard changes in intonation as well. How many of you would like to see what it was that I actually did? Yeah, you're all supposed to go, yeah, pick me, right? Okay, so this is Mr. Bones. So this is Mr. Bones and this is Elmer over here. Elmer's been waiting for a practice room on the 4th floor for a while, so you'll see how that works. We're gonna send him over to Russ Hall next. Right, so have a look at this and you feel free to try it out yourself, right? So we're gonna start with Mr. Bones in what we would just call an accurate or basic alignment, right? He's got the top of his head balanced over the spine here, and everything is just aligning beautifully underneath. Now, watch and listen to what happens when we go from ah. Hear that? So it's not just my head-neck position, there was other compensatory movement as well. But isn't that wild? Now, if you're an instrumentalist, I want you to try that with your instrument as well. Figure out what is the impact of your head position or your head and neck relationship on the instrument. And some of you will be like, wait a minute. I walked in this room at 2 o'clock and everything was good. And it's what, 2:20? And I feel like a hot mess already. Like, what is the problem? I've actually had students say, I was fine until I met you. And now everything hurts. Excuse me. And I'm like, I get it. It's possible that those things were hurting before, but you just weren't paying attention. So here's the other secret sauce that you need to know. The key to making change is to pay attention. You need to figure out what you are actually doing, right, versus what you think you are doing. F.M. Alexander coined a term to cover this. It's one of my favorites. Debauched sensory perception. And if you're sitting there going, what does debauched mean? Google it, right? Debauched sensory perception. It's where you're like, and this is a true story. I was working with a conductor one summer. His name was John. We'll call him John. John was 6'4". And John conducted like this. And the choir sounded a certain way because this is how John liked to move. So I said, John, how tall are you? Without any prompting, he said, 6'4", but I'd rather be 5'10". I went, that's interesting. So if you're 6'4" and you want to be 5'10", what are you going to do to your physicality? Right. So one of the things we had to do with John was get him to actually map his structure and his function within his size. And in literally 2 days, John kind of got out of the way of all of that, and the sound of the choir was transformed. Simply because he was able to move within his own anatomical truth instead of trying to compress himself into this other idea that he had that he wanted to be. That's just one example of how powerful this information can be. So we're going to start with core balance, okay? I'm going to show you here, this is an anatomy textbook picture. Actually, it was commissioned by the Association for Body Mapping Education, through which my licensing comes. And this just shows you the ideal alignment of our skeleton, right? And this dotted line here is the line of alignment as it pertains to gravity, okay? Over here, we've got a 1-year-old toddler, right, with a line of gravitational force indicated here, just doing what kids that age do. They don't think head pulled up on a string, chest high, but they're just a kid, sucking a thumb, watching a mother teach a lesson on arms. And then we've got old mate. Do you recognize this guy? Okay, so he and his friends are up there just outside Cole Hall. And you can see from this picture here that we've got a major alignment issue. I could have blacked that out and said to you, what age person do you think that profile belongs to? Who would say an old person? Right, you'd be right. We see a lot of that in older people. I could also show you photos of 18-year-olds that look like that too. Okay, and we're going to get into that in just a moment. Have you all got your phones on you today? Yeah? Good, keep them handy. You're going to need them in just a moment. Right, so the places of balance, okay? And again, some of you are like, oh, I want to take notes. Don't worry about it. Send me an email. I'll send you some information. I'm happy to share it. But for the moment, I want you to look, listen, and I want you, in a moment, we're going to go through these places, and we're going to find them, and then I will tell you why. Right, so the first one is called the AO joint. It's short for Atlanto-occipital joint. And that is the place where your head literally balances on your spine, okay? Where skull meets spine. Number 6 is our arm structure. We're going to come back to the arms last. A couple of people said, oh, we're going to work on arms today. I'm like, we haven't got time today, but we can always work on arms another day if there is enough people who would like to work on their arms. Number 2 is the lumbar spine. How many of you have heard about the lumbar spine? Fantastic, so we'll go find that in a moment. Hip joints. Do you know where your hip joints are? Do you know how they actually work? Oh, well, you're about to. Okay, what about knees? I'm pretty sure most of you know about your knees, right? And then, of course, we have the ankles. So we have these 6 places of balance, and the reason that I put the arms last is I want you to, especially for those of you who holds an instrument when they play, right? Yep, so you have to deal with what we call static posture or static alignment in the process of holding that instrument. So it's really important that your arms are mapped in relationship to everything else, and we put them into the context of support from the skeleton and the core, rather than people thinking arms are dragging up other forces from below. Okay, and again, when I do arms, that will make a whole lot more sense. So let's start by looking at the spine. I don't know how closely you've looked at a spine, but again, I've got Elma and Mr. Bones here, and you're welcome to come up and take a look at them, either during the presentation or at the end. I really don't mind. So the structure of the spine is what makes it so advantageous for us, okay? So we have 2 halves. We have the weight-bearing, weight-delivering, load-bearing part, which looks like chunks of tree trunk with the intervertebral discs here in between that provide some cushioning and spring. And then on the back, we have what we call the nerve-protecting part, okay? So we've got the anterior and the transverse processes. If we tipped him on the side, that would look a bit like the spines on a dinosaur, right? These 2 halves of the spine both have very, very important functions for our alignment and our mobility, okay? I didn't bring in my small spine pelvis model, but I actually have one that is the size of the average 11-year-old male. And people are generally shocked at how big it is, because most people have an idea of their spine being straighter and thinner or smaller than it actually is. But it is actually quite generously proportioned, and it is set up in such a way that should you choose, it will take a lot of weight. It's going to take the weight from above. How heavy is your head? Do you know how heavy the average adult head is? Anybody want to guess? Pick a number between 5 and 20. Average head is about 12 pounds. It can be as heavy as 16, as light as 10. In a child, it can be as light as 8, right? And I'm going to show you in a moment how that impacts your alignment. So we've got all of these vertebrae here. We've got our cervical, 7 cervical, we've got 12 thoracic, we've got the 5 lumbar down here, and then we've got the sacral curve here. So we've got these 4 curves in the spine, and those curves allow us to find alignment and balance. They keep us strong, and they keep us mobile. If you don't believe me, just go and watch kids playing in a playground. They're throwing themselves around, moving in all sorts of amazing ways. In fact, if any of you've got access to young children through your family, watch how the really little ones are moving, right? Especially the crawlers and the toddlers. It's a lesson in perfection, because they haven't yet learnt to do the weird postural things that y'all picked up when you went to school, like sit up straight and all that kind of stuff. And they're not yet copying the movement that mum and dad do, right? Little kids are actually moving probably better than most of us, because they're quite free and natural in what they're doing. So let's go through these 6 places of balance, and let's see if we can get you focusing on those this week and giving yourselves little check-ins on your awareness and noticing how it impacts how you feel and how you move and how you're singing and playing. We're going to start with the AO joint, okay, and I'll show you the pictures, and then I'm going to get you to get up and move and experiment, okay? So first of all, we're looking at the back of the skull here, right? And I'll grab the skeleton in a minute and show you. Here we have got the vertebrae at the top. So we've got the atlas, which is the top vertebra, and then we have the axis, which is the second. Do you remember who Atlas was in your Greek mythology? Who was Atlas? Yes, Catherine. He was the god that was holding up the sky, right? So imagine that you've got to hold up the sky on your spine. So you're going to take that nice heavy head of yours, right? Where do you want it? Do you want it right over the top like a golf ball on a tee? Any golfers here? Right, so put the golf ball. I didn't know that about you, Jake. I love that. So you're going to put the golf ball on the tee, or do you want to have the golf ball just slightly off the edge? Right? Okay, but like, how will you know? How do you actually locate it? Because you can only see the atlanto-occipital joint if we actually take your head off. And that's not very convenient, right? Fortunately, the AO joint has the most sense receptors of any joint in the human body, which is actually really cool, right? So let's locate where that is. And while you're doing that, I want you to see if you can experience this. So this is looking on your atlas from the top down. We've got these two little condyles here and here. And at the base of the occipital bone here, there's two little bumps that when it's in alignment, they just pop in. They just sit there really nicely. So stand up for me. And we're going to use some landmarks to find the AO joint, right? So the first one you're going to do is just take your thumbs and you're going to put them in your ears, right? Now, the atlanto-occipital joint is just going to be just slightly below that, just in there. So put your thumbs in your ears, join your index fingers together at the front, and I want you to see, just notice whether the base of your nose is parallel to the floor, or are you someone that tends to be a little up, or are you someone that's a little tucked down, okay? So you want parallel, base of nose parallel to the floor. The jaw is not part of it. The jaw is an appendage to the skull. Don't be fooled by your jaw. Now flip your right hand over the back and come to the back of your skull till you can feel a couple of bumps on the base of the occipital bone. You feel those there, right? So from here to here, you want to think horizontal plane, front to back and side to side, right? Now, you can then do this very subtle rocking movement on the atlas that lets you go yes. This is why we get into so much trouble, because yes is the easiest movement to do, right? If you want to do no, you need the axis where you can move this way. But let's try a quick trick. Are you ready? I want you for a minute to pretend you're like the little old ladies on the Garden State Parkway who are driving their cars like this, and they're set up in their cars and they're peering over the steering wheel and they're looking like this. You want to try this, right? Now, I want you to try nodding your head in a yes from this position. Oh, what do you just notice? Just notice what you got, right? Good. Now, let's try looking over our shoulder and seeing how that feels. You ready? Who notices that their head wants to kind of go up that way, right? Yeah, I know. Good. So come out of that and now see, and again, don't pull yourself up. Just bring yourself into the right relationship, right? So think base of the nose, parallel with the floor, right? And then you want to think, am I over the weight-bearing part of the spine, or is my head dragged forward in a turtle, or am I a marching band refugee and my head is pulled back here? See, I told you there'd be humor, right? So I just want you to experiment with that for a moment. If you learn nothing else today, you've got to learn where to put your head, right? So let's try back row baritone, right? You know, they like to be nice and tall and they're pulled back like this. Now, try moving your head this way. Who can feel that restriction there? Who's also noticed that their legs are gripping and their toes are doing weird stuff? Did you notice you're holding your breath as well? Yeah, I know. This is not a good posture to be in. Okay, so that's not working. Now let's scoot forward. Actually, get out your phone really quickly. Get out your phone. Now, when I was watching some of you on your phones when you came in, I know now you're all going to get paranoid. I do. I watch people all the time. It's fun. And I noticed that a lot of you actually come down to your phone like this, okay? You're putting a lot of strain on your body because your body's your instrument, friends, right? You don't change into a better body when you go to sing and play. It's this one. Hallelujah, right? So how about we do this? Just keep the phone in your hand for a moment. See if you can get the base of the nose parallel to the floor and the holes in the side of your ears coming over the side of your torso. Don't orient to the shoulders, because if your shoulders are forward or back, you're in a whole world of trouble. So find the side of your body here and see if you can just find that. And can you just let that be? Stop getting postury and just see if you can find that place. Beautiful. Now, without looking down, I want you to just float your phone up in front of your face and notice the difference in your neck. Right now, bring the phone down and drag your head down to your phone. Got it? You see? Now, if you would like to avoid very expensive medical bills by the time you're 30, I suggest you start bringing your phone to you instead of dragging yourself down to your phone. Sound good? One day you will thank me for that bit of advice. You're welcome. Okay, good. So, who thinks that they've got somewhere for their head to be? Who thinks that's kind of nice? Who's sitting there going, I don't know how it feels. Like, I don't know, I'm just so used to what I do. Nothing feels kind of different. I don't know. I need something more. Who wants more? Jeffrey always wants more. So thank you, Jeffrey. Let's give Jeffrey more. So I want to teach you a couple of quick stretches. Now, if you've been anywhere in the world of Buchanan and you've sung in the chorale, you know this. So you lead the way. Folks who are doing this for the first time, watch those of us who know what to do. These stretches are taken out of the work of Dr. Joseph Heller, and they're absolutely fantastic for helping to challenge the fascia and helping to get some release, okay? If you have a neck injury, don't do them. If you are otherwise healthy, let's go. So I want you to link your hands at the back of the head, And then I want you to bring the weight of your arms down, and I want you to look down at the floor, and I want you to stretch out the back of your neck. And from the base of the occipital bone right down, some of you will feel that stretch right down into the middle of your back. Most of you should feel it down through your shoulder blades. And you're going to keep looking down and keep the weight of your arm pulling down actively for 10 seconds. Don't bounce, just keep it pulling. When you get to your 10 seconds, don't move your head. Remove your hands and feel the difference already on your neck when you don't have the weight of the arms adding to it. Now bring the fingertips of one hand to your forehead and use your hand to guide your head back to neutral. Move slowly and thoughtfully. If you move quickly, you'll undo any good. Let your teeth unclench. Find it there. Count to 5. Any discomfort goes away. Now lock your knees. Teeth together. Roll your head back. Roll back, roll back. Hold it there. Keep breathing through your nose. Keep it there for 10 seconds. And then when you get to the 10 seconds, bring a hand to the back of your head and guide your head back to neutral. And you know what that is now, because it's the base of your nose parallel to the floor. We count to 5. Any discomfort should go away. But wait, there's more. Let's go. Stretching over your right arm. So use the weight of your arm to help intensify the stretch. You should feel it through here. Instrumentalists who hold things, you may even want to try a side front. Most people will start here for the first one. And after 10 seconds, we're going to guide ourselves back to neutral. Now, it's good to do this in front of a mirror, because at this point here, some of you are like, wait a minute. My head wants to do this. Let's even up, shall we? Because what's happening is you're encouraging the fascia to release. So fascia has a tensile strength, 10 times stronger than steel. And it works with the connective tissue in your body to protect you. So if you are habitually in a state of startle or misalignment or tension or excessive force, your fascia is working overtime to keep your body rock solid. And that is not helpful for Embodied and Expressive. Now see if you can release, see if you can find where that is. Who can give me a bobble-headed yes? Who feels like their head might even be just a tiny bit floaty? Who notices a little difference just from that? Now, if you're really serious, you will do that 3 times in each direction, before and after a practice session, a lesson, a concert, etc. And this is one of the fastest ways I know to help recover some of that mobility between the head and the neck. Good. So let's do the next one. And you can take a seat if you would like while I explain this. That posture that you showed me so beautifully with your phones, it's called forward head posture, okay? And you might recognize this from what you see around even with your friends. Now, it means that a person with their head a couple of inches forward will now have a head as heavy as 48 pounds. Think about that for a minute. The maximum luggage weight in economy is 50 pounds. Are you telling me you want to walk around carrying 48 pounds or 30 or even 20 pounds? Even just a little bit off. And before some of you get like, it doesn't matter, I'm good, I'm doing good, doing what I'm doing. Okay, great. You might be good doing what you're doing today. Here's the other thing. We're precision artists, right? We are taught to get it in tune and in time the first time. Because when you're in performance, that's what you got. It's not like football players kick the goal. Did they get it? Yay! They didn't get it? Oh, well, try next time. I mean, how lucky is that? You're in tune, yay, you're out of tune, this next time. I don't think you're going to have a career if that's the way it is, right? So this concept of the excellence and the perfection and the precision is part of what we strive for. It's part of what can drive us a little crazy, but it's also part of what you need to respect, that if your alignment is just a little bit off, then your movement is always going to be just a little bit off. And that means that your potential is always going to be a little bit inhibited. You understand what I'm saying? So our encouragement with this is to take the information and get curious and to experiment and to figure out, okay, what am I doing that's working well and why? What am I doing that's not working? What am I doing? How can I fix that? How will that help me improve? Does that make sense? So observation, paying attention, observing and experimenting are going to pay you very handsome dividends when you're looking to work with your quality of movement. These are all the things that posture has a direct effect on, and some of the reasons that we have these problems, it's not the smartphones that are bad, it's the way we choose to use them that is problematic. Video game consoles, heavy backpacks, oh my God. I walk around this building and I want to go up and fix everybody's backpack. If you're sitting there going, yeah, I know, I've got my backpack and I've got my cello and I've got whatever, we've got a fix for that. It's called wear it correctly. Okay, and we can make that backpack that weighs 50 pounds not feel like 50 pounds if you set it up properly. So, also notice that we can have accidents. There can be trauma from a car accident or from a fall. Okay, and you need, in those situations, to make sure you're getting the right medical help. And I will give you a disclaimer from the start. The minute anyone comes to me and says they have pain or discomfort, right, my first question is, have you been to a medical professional? Right? 95% of the time, the doctor says, you're fine. And they're like, well, it only hurts when I play. And they say, well, then don't play. Well, that's like, cut my heart out, right? So that's when we actually have to look at, how are you moving, right? And 95% of the time, it's how we're moving. It's not actually something other than that. Right, influence of neck muscles. So, for those of you that have gotten wedded to this forward head posture, okay, you can see the difference between tight neck and free neck. Do you see that? So getting these muscles here to release can take a little bit of time, paying a little attention. I suggest next time you're in theory or history class, just check in and say, where's my head? How am I doing? And just give it a little bit of release. The neck is mostly muscle, friends, okay? So this is the back here. Do you see all of this muscle tissue here and here at the front? Okay, so when we look at a cross-section of the neck, your neck is predominantly muscle. So that's why getting that release is so important. Right, we're going to speed through the next few because these will get a little easier to find. So stand up and get yourself into your optimal alignment. And now we're going to find your lumbar spine, okay? So you're going to come down. The lumbar spine are the 5 vertebrae that are right down here, okay? We orient them to the iliac crest, which is here in the pelvis. So easy way to find the lumbar spine. Take your hands and you're going to palpate. Palpating means to examine by touch. So you're going to come down the side, find your iliac crest, right? Keep your left hand here and then bring your right hand across to the front. Now, orient yourself to your belly button, okay? Some of you, if you're like me and you're kind of long-waisted, you'll find the belly button's above here. Others of you might find that it's closer to the belly button. But when I get to this point here, if I drill front to back, side to side, I'm going to be hitting right on the top of L4, bottom of L3. So that's right in the middle of the 5 lumbar vertebrae, right? Now, we're going to organize them in connection to the tilt of the pelvis. You ready? Put your right hand on the front, left hand on the back, and follow me. So kick your butt out, and we're going to go into a hyperextension. I call this duck butt. You got it, right? So go into duck butt. You'll notice that your knees probably just locked automatically, right? Now what I want you to do, so your hands are like this. Now I want you to move your pelvis so that your hands are going to get parallel. And they're going to feel like they're upright. Got that? Whose knees just let go? Cool, right? Now let's go into tuck butt. Right, so this is another one that we see, the guys that stand there like this. Again, great range of motion, important for a variety of reasons, but not a great place to go when you want to sing and play. Right? So instead of duck butt, the hyperextension, instead of tuck butt, we want you at neutral. And then when you go to sit, which we're going to do in just a moment, right? When we go to sit, you're going to deliver the weight through the spine into your pelvic rockers. So I've got my chair ready. So here's the lumbar spine. Use your eyes and your thinking skills to emblazon that. And we want the AO joint here in alignment with the lumbar. We don't want this. We don't want that. Okay? We literally want the head plop right over there. And do you see the weight-bearing part of the spine? That's the coolest part, right? That so much of that weight bearing and that balance and that ease, like I'm standing here in front of you and I'm just like hanging out because everything is going straight into that weight bearing part of the spine. So here are a couple of the reminders for you about how to find it and why that's an important place for us. Now, let's do the hip joints, right? So if you are standing, and we've got a female perspective this time, just because I know some of you appreciate that. So here we have a lateral view of the pelvis at neutral, okay? When we sit, we have weight coming through the spine, out through the pelvis, the arch of the pelvis, into the legs, and then when we sit, sorry, did I say sit? I meant stand. When we're standing, it goes this way. When we sit, it goes this way. Now, the thing that's really interesting about the hip joints is they're actually you're halfway. Are you ready for the stunt? Ta-da! Right, extreme yoga in Leshowitz. Isn't it fantastic? I'm not going to do this right now. I don't want to scare you, right? But there it is, right? So this idea of waist, bending at the waist is a waist, right? There's another tattoo for you. But what you really want is you want to be thinking about articulating at your hip joints. So shall we find them? Yeah? So what I'd like you to do first of all is come here on the outside of the leg, feel that, right? And then you're going to come in and up slightly and bend. And if we poke up in there, that's your hip joints. That's actually where your legs begin, right? We can rotate out and in. It's a very mobile ball and socket joint. Not as mobile as the glenohumeral joint, but close, okay? Now, what I want you to do is go from feeling the weight of the floor when I'm standing to feeling it through your sit bones. So take your hands, jazz hands, ready? Place them firmly on your buttocks and sit on your hands, okay? Yeah, I know, you're in Leshowitz seats, so it's going to be a little weird, right? Now, if you're on a seat like this, you can feel the sit bones. You can feel that weight delivery. Just try this for me. Ready? Go tuck butt. Tuck butt. Sit like you're sitting on the edge of the seat. Sit bones disappeared, right? Now come back. Feel them. Now let's go slump. Let's go tuck butt. There we go. From duck to tuck, find neutral, extract your hands, and you're ready to sing and play. So you're sitting in band, you're sitting in orchestra, right? You're rehearsing seated in choir. This is where you want to be. Now find the difference. Sit up straight. Feel it? Come to neutral. So you're going to say, organize yourself around your core. Find poise. Find balance. Find ease, right? And you'll get addicted to it. You absolutely will. Because human bodies just love, they just love it when things feel easy. And if you pay attention and allow it to go there, you'll find it again and again. Right. 2 pictures. This is my daughter when she was horseback riding, and this is me when I was 1. How is it that you can take a baby and just plop it down? Because we've got weight delivery into sit bones. How is it that we can ride the horse? Because our legs are external to the pelvis. We sit on the sit bones. We don't actually sit on our legs, right? Hence, Mr. Bones also does lotus position, right? Because if his legs were underneath him, he wouldn't be able to get them up here and go, hey, right? So again, understanding the anatomy and how you move your body, the physiology, sets you up for greater ease in the movement that you're doing as musicians. So, if we were on the piano bench, the organ bench, the seats in the rehearsal rooms, anywhere that's not cushioned, you would feel this point of contact more beautifully. And so there's somebody who's in what we call an upright balance. That's what you're aiming for, okay? And as a conductor, you can see the difference. I mean, look at the difference between singing and playing for me. So close your eyes, okay? Open your eyes. Notice how I look, how you would interpret. Close your eyes. Open your eyes. Okay? Close your eyes. Open your eyes. Which one do you prefer? Yeah. You can tell, you can see. The fact that 93% of human communication is nonverbal also helps us. We're constantly reading, interpreting, thinking, now what the heck does that mean? So when you're seated in class, and you sit a lot, in orchestra rehearsal tonight, in band tomorrow, in choir tomorrow, see if you can really work into weight delivery into those sit bones. And when you go to sit, here's your angle, right? Not, but actually hinge. Stick your butt out and then just drop into it. Okay, let's finish really quickly. Knees, standing up. There are 3 conditions of your knees, okay? Anybody here double jointed? Anybody here hyperflexible? Okay, so what you have to work for is greater strength in your joints, okay? Hyperflexibility has certain advantages in some cases. For musicians, it makes things harder in many cases, right? So we want to make sure that we're not constantly throwing the knee back and going into what we call knees locked. Knees locked is typically a symptom of people who are actually pulling their shoulders back and going into this, okay? So it's dangerous to unlock the knees if everything back here is up there, but if we can get this into alignment, usually the knees will unlock with it, okay? So just be aware of that. We've got knees bent, which is perfectly fine and happy to go to, but again, you don't want to be the person that looks like this when you play, right? You want to use that range of motion, but you don't want to be just bobbing incessantly. So having your knees soft means that you can stand at your full height and let your legs just wiggle. Got that? Right? And you can feel the weight delivery going down into the ankles. So if you look at the music stand here, you can see the arches on the tripod of that. It's the same with the foot. The foot's like a tripod in the way it functions. So we've got arches this way, we've got arches this way. There's multiple arches that we use. So to finish up, I would like you to just see if you can find a range of motion to be in balance, right? And we're going to start by just organizing the AO joint, get yourself over the lumbar, get your pelvis at neutral, release your knees, okay? Get the floor. Now, let's try back row baritone, shall we? So throw the weight of your body back over your heels and try to hold it there. Now pay attention to what compensatory movement you have to do to maintain that. Who's got abs that are working? Yep, great in the gym, but not great in rehearsal. What else? Whose toes are pulling up? Whose ankles are rigid? Who can feel it in the back of the neck? And who's holding their breath? There you go. Right. Now, come to neutral. Come to neutral. Who just felt their body go, ooh, yeah. Okay, that's actually more stuff getting through the circulatory system, believe it or not. Now, let's try the other one. Those people that say you've got to put the weight of your body over the balls of your feet, right? That's also nonsense, but let's try it. Okay? So now you want to shift the weight forward, right? Now who feels it in the back of the neck? Who can feel it in the quads? Whose toes are gripping? And who's holding their breath? Again, oh my God, how did that work? So can you come back to neutral? Now, neutral is not a postury place where we stay. Neutral is a place where we organize ourselves, right? And it's a place we come and go from. So when I start to conduct, I will find neutral. It's the place of great ease where movement in any direction is easiest and my body's not doing extra work. And then as I'm conducting, I'm going to move. Like, am I in balance now? No, right? But it doesn't matter because I'm not conducting from here the whole time, right? I'm going to move in and out. So when I'm constantly moving in and out and through balance, my body can trust the fluidity, the mobility, and the support it gets. Does that make sense? So I'm not in this stuck, postured, rigid way, but I'm finding a way to be easy and poised. I love the word poise. I think that it's a dynamic thing. It can be ever responsive and it can change at a moment's notice. So there are the notes for you as you're feeling the floor now, right? Think about the weight delivery and see if you can just let go. Some of you might be also chronic jaw clenches. See if you can just let that go too. Just say thank you, but I don't need your help with that today. And just let that go. And then the last thing we're going to do, I need the tallest, strongest person in the room to come up for a quick demonstration. Orchestra conductor, come on up. We're going to finish with a demonstration. Really quickly, okay? So you can sit for this one, or you can even come up and get closer. Feel free to take photos, okay? I'm going to end with where I usually start. I'm going to show you how strong your body is when you are in alignment, okay? So make sure you can get a really good look. Okay, sir, your job is to stand behind me, right? And you are going to put your hands on my shoulders, and you are going to press down perfectly vertically, follow the line of gravity, as hard as you can. Yeah, I'm absolutely serious. And if you push me forward or back, you could hurt me, right? So you don't want to do that if you want to graduate. Yeah, right, exactly, right? And I'm going to be on a slight angle so folks can see me. Yeah, sorry, I'll get the hair out of the way. You want to come forward because you need every advantage here, I'm just telling you. Okay, you ready? Off you go. So you can talk to the crew here. He's pretty strong, actually. He's pretty good. So what are you noticing? You're getting tired, I'm not. What do you notice? What do you see? You could. Well done. I hope I didn't bruise your ego. No. When I do that with the athletic students, like they get really cut really quickly. So beautiful, thank you. I appreciate the help. As you're walking back to your seat, can you explain to the folks here how it felt? I wasn't.
She just absorbed. I really pressed as hard as I could.
He did.
And there's none of that. It was just straight, solid, like she was bolted to the floor. That's the feeling.
Yeah, and yet what did you see from where you were? Jake said, I looked relaxed, right? It was easy. Now, who's excited by that? Who's like, that's really cool, right? Because here's the deal. We got to do a lot. Being a musician requires a lot. So instead of working harder, why don't you work smarter, right? So that you've got energy to put into the things you need to be doing instead of all this compensatory action or tension that's getting in the way or habitual misalignment that means that then you've got to perform with greater force. And some of you will find that when you get good at this work, you don't get as tired, right? If I'm conducting well and I'm really working well with my body mapping, I can get off after 6 hours on the podium and I don't hurt. I just feel that happy, like I've had a great rehearsal feeling, not, oh my God, I need a break, right? And that's the goal. There's also other things we need to know about breaks and stretches and so forth, but that's where it is. I want to finish with this picture here for you. So this is a student who took my class when I was teaching this some years ago. He's a violist, actually. His name's Jonathan. Great guy. I have permission to use this photo. So Jonathan came into my office for a coaching, and this is when he walked in. We took a side profile photo. And that's Jonathan 20 minutes later. And all I did was ask him some questions, and he looked in the mirror and he started to think about what we'd worked on in class, and he found himself in alignment versus how he walked in the office in the first moment. Who's excited by that? Yeah, me too, right? That is beautiful. That's beautiful, because that means that his playing is going to be so much freer, and he's going to be able to play for a lot longer before he encounters difficulty. So we're going to leave it with mind, body, spirit, music. Yeah, that's the chorale. That's our symphony orchestra, and that's me. And that was Kaleidoscope in 2011, when we were getting ready for Parables for the Crawford concert that year. So this is the equation I want you to think about. Mind, body, spirit, music. Why do I start with the mind? Because everything that you do with your body and your music and so forth is determined by what's going on in your mind. All of the voluntary movement that you do as musicians is governed by specialized neurological networks in your brain. They're called body maps, hence the term body mapping, right? And we use sensory information to inform those maps with what we see, what we hear, what we touch, and how we feel when we move kinesthetically. So get the information in the mind clear and accurate so that we can manifest it in the body. Then we free the spirit, and we end up with the music that we want to make. Okay, sorry I ran a few minutes over, but this was just a heck of a lot of fun. Jennifer Johnson will be back next year. We'll have her here for a few days. I'm around always. I know I'm not nearly as exciting because you see me every day. But I do want to say that anytime students have got questions, I'm always happy to engage with you. So please be in touch if you have questions, and thank you again. Thank you. Wait a minute, I'll get in. When you bow at your recital, okay, this is how you're going to bow. Hello, toes at your hip joints. Shall we practice? Ready? So let's take a bow, everybody. Take a bow at the hip joints, and hello, toes, and up. Now try that awkward one at the waist. Ready? Try bending at your waist. Ready? No, not doing it. So there it is. So next time you take a bow, think, yay, hip joints. Okay, ciao, guys. She sees me all the time. She's good. What's her name? Gianna. Yes. Yes. You're one of the 150. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Yes. Where's your backpack? Oh, you I have mine. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Swing by my office. Swing by my office tomorrow with your backpack, and we'll adjust it. I'll show you how to bring backpack. Yeah. Most of you, what you do is you have a backpack too low. So, of course. So this is actually
I don't expect you to remember we met